for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. Monday night, TC and Friends Monday Night Musings. Gosh, I can't even remember what episode it is for this season, but it is an episode. And you guys, I don't want to say that you're in for a treat because that is not the way we're going to describe this. You're in for a powerful story tonight, a powerful retelling of some tragic circumstances, and we're going to delve into the personal side of those tragic circumstances tonight. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to probably have to have my guest on at least one other time, if not more, because this is a really long and complicated and detailed story. So before we get to that, I want to make sure that I point everybody to the banner on the bottom of the screen. Big shout out to iMav, one of my show producers from Subscribestar, and to the Angry Vet from here on YouTube. They have, like everybody who is a channel member or a supporter at Subscribestar, they have really stepped up and are helping me keep the ship afloat. iMav and Angry Vet, Tav as we affectionately refer to him now, have gone off to that top tier of support, which helps keep the electricity and the internet going pretty much every month so that I can continue to do what I do. So if you don't follow the Angry Vet on YouTube, you really should. He's got a phenomenal story that everyone should be following. He's a veteran in the United States military, and he's looking at 40 years in prison for shooting video of his own VA appointment. I'm not making it up. I said what I said. And that's exactly what happened. iMav is just a good friend. And then my friend Pirate Tomsky from Great Britain for this wonderful microphone that he sent me a couple of years ago. And it's just phenomenal. It makes me sound professional and not like some nasally Minnesotan. Yeah, it's true. Everybody goes, "You got such a Minnesota accent." And I'm like, no, I don't. And I cannot say enough to everybody who is a subscriber to the channel, to everybody who is a channel member. You are all very supportive in your own ways, and I cannot thank you enough for what you do. It's not... I've said this multiple times. I don't do this for other people. As shallow as it probably sounds to some of you, I do this for myself. Because I cannot stand injustice. I cannot stand corruption. And I have a lot of my own peccadillos and problems and issues, and I screw up. I make mistakes constantly in my life. Say and do things I'm not proud of. But what I'm not bothered by is being outraged when other people are being abused, when they're being taken advantage of by the state. And most of my viewers know when I refer to the state, I'm not referring to the state of Minnesota or the state of Wisconsin or whatever. I'm referring to what most people call government. We are the government. We are supposed to be a self-governing people. We are supposed to be in control and in charge, and everybody who's elected into an office or appointed into a position, they are supposed to be subservient to us. They are to work for us. They are to do what we tell them to do. They are to represent us. But what happened was a rise of the state, where they are the ones in power. and we are subservient to them. We are to function and respond to them on a whim. We are to do what they need done for their benefit and to their end and to their glory and to their good and to their wealth and advancement and all of that. And that's the state. So whether it's your local city state, your county state, your school board state, your state, or the federal state, there are all these levels of people who now, elected or appointed, sit over you with no accountability, with qualified immunity at every level, not just cops, judges, prosecutors, county attorneys, school board members, teachers, city council members, mayors, county commissioners, judges. All of these people have some form, some version of what's commonly referred to as qualified immunity. It protects them. And you don't have that. And that's a lot of what plays into this story that we're going to be telling tonight. And it's really important that you pay very close attention. And I've seen the details of this story, this tragic story, and which is why I'm 99.9% positive it's going to be at least one, if not two more episodes of Monday Night Musings, because it's that deep and that detailed, and there are so many players involved. And there's too much happening in this story for us to not have the opportunity to sit back and say, is there cover-up? Is there collusion? Is there corruption? Is justice actually being served? So, as we get ready to bring my guest in, her name is Marcy. You guys are going to meet her. She is fiery. I'm just going to warn you right now. She's a firebrand. She's a mama bear, and she will protect her own. I'll tell you that right now. I feel like I might be under her wing of protection at times. She's a little fiery already. She's and she's not old, so she can't even claim me as one of her own kids. So but she's fiery. She's a firebrand, I'm telling you. So make sure you like this. Make sure you share this out and come back, comment on this after we're done, and tell other people to watch. And hold on, because this is going to hit you right in the feels, folks. This is especially the first part of the story is going to hit you right in the feels. Marcy,
hi.
Thank you for doing this. We've been working on this for 4 or 5 months.
Yes,
yeah,
I believe so.
And you've been dealing with your situation for going on.
Well, Spencer was killed on July 19th of 2023, so it's been since then.
Well, right out of the gate, tell us who you are first, and tell us. Tell everybody who you are and what you do on this for a side hustle, because I want people, because I believe you have an internet presence for your side hustle.
Yeah, I do have an internet presence for my side hustle. My name is Marcy. I'm going to first talk about my children. I have 3 children, Spencer, Shelby, and Remy. Spencer graced me as being my first child on February 23rd, 1997. He was the first one that called me mom, my first child who called me mom. I'm very honored to be his mom. Unfortunately, Spencer was killed on July 19th of 2023. My side hustle is called the Grumpy Marshmallow.
Wait a minute. You said you had other kids, though, so you can't just skip over those other 2. Now you got to tell us about them.
Okay. Well, Shelby was born 19 months after Spencer, and then we had a surprise, Remy, and she's my baby. And I actually called all 3 kids babies. They don't like that because now they're adults.
So how old is the babiest of the babies?
The baby is 19, almost 20.
Yeah, nothing like feeling old, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful to feel old.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I was going to tell
Yeah.
people, don't eat. I told my dad this because he keeps eating Rice Krispie bars. I says, Dad, you better not eat anymore because they're going to make you go snap, crackle, and pop when you get older. And he just turned 89. So
There's probably a lot of snapping, crackling, and popping going on already. So
yeah.
So you have a side hustle in your life outside of your other work. You have a business called the Grumpy Marshmallow.
Yes, I sell my homemade can items, and then I also have a freeze drying business. So I make freeze dried candy and sell it. And then I can't sell meat and cheese and stuff like that in the state of Minnesota. So I do like dog treats for my dog. And I just looked on the ground. He's sitting right here beside me. Yeah.
So you make.
So I like freeze drying. It's kind of fun.
So you make homemade candy because you in technical jargon you did what's called rubber banding. You fade it out a little bit. So you make homemade candy and you do freeze dried candy, and then you do dog and pet treats.
Right. I do. Yeah. I make pumpkin stuff for my dog, and add like meat products to it. So he really likes it. And then I also freeze dry stuff. Like, go ahead.
So if people wanted to, they could check you out online and buy from you, or can you not ship out of state or anything?
I cannot ship out of state, so it has to be a direct to direct.
I
have to actually hand the product to the person. But it's fun. I like talking. So this is great. It's a great side hustle. Actually, the side hustle helped me heal a little bit and got me out and about after Spencer was killed. So I'm very thankful for it.
So let's talk about that. July 19th of 2023. For you, it seems like a lifetime ago, but for the rest of us, that was just last summer. And tell us about that day. I mean, Spencer wasn't a baby anymore. He was out on his own, driving home from work, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was driving home from work, and a young driver drastically swerved into his lane and killed him.
And he was where did this happen?
In Lake City, Minnesota, on Highway 63, south of Lake City.
And for those of you that are not from eastern Minnesota, Lake City, the drive on Highway 63 to Lake City is curvy and beautiful. It's a beautiful drive, but it can be treacherous. Not normally in the summer. So Spencer was on his way home from work that day. What time of day was that?
It was like around 4. The accident happened, I believe, at like 4:33 or around 4:30, sometime around then. He was heading to the farm so he could go milk the girls.
Yeah,
he loved the cows and loved farm.
Because he kind of had a side hustle going on too.
Right. He actually has 2 side hustles going. He milked cows for a really good friend of his, and then he also worked at Meadow Valley Motocross. He loved motocross, and the weekend before he was killed, there was the Nationals was in at Spring Creek. So Spencer was Spencer was telling me all about his race. I think he was racing his little 50 or something like that on the track. And he was telling me all about it. He was so funny.
Hey, boys and their toys, right?
Boys and their toys. He who wins, yeah.
Yep. He who dies with the most toys wins, I think is what you were gonna.
I shouldn't say that.
No.
Toys wins. Yeah.
You can be emotional. It's fine. I get emotional all the time. So.
I know, but I don't want to.
Oh, don't worry. I melt down constantly.
I grew up showing horses, so I'm trying to be strong, cowgirl up,
Oh gosh, no. People who watch my stuff want to know who you really are. And well, I mean that is who you really are, but they want to know the truth of what you're feeling and experiencing. So we're no one here is going to shame you for that. And
Okay.
if they do, then I'll deal with them. So
Okay.
that that had to have been
Um,
a rough day, because you and I've talked quite a bit about this, and it took a while for you to get notification.
it did. When it was on a Wednesday, and I was well, my husband and I were driving around looking at, being out and about and just driving around, and Spencer's fiance Megan called and told me that Spencer hadn't showed up to milk, and she was really worried. She heard there was a accident on the Rock Cut. That's the big hill going down into Lake City from as you have to go down to get into Lake City. And she said she hadn't heard from him. She kept calling Spencer. Spencer's phone was off and she didn't know what was going on. And then I said, okay, I'll start calling around. The first phone call I made was to Spencer's dad, and he hadn't heard from Spencer. And so he started calling around. And well, Spencer was there. They didn't say anything. And then I called
Say that again. You cut out just a little bit.
Oh,
Your Spencer's dad called who, and they didn't say anything.
I called the hospital, and they
Oh,
didn't
okay.
say anything to me about the accident or if Spencer was in the accident. And then did you hear me when I said that I talked to Spencer's dad?
Yes,
I think you
that.
did. Okay. All right. And
And then he was going to make some calls.
then he was going to make some calls. So I'm not exactly sure the timing, because I think I was kind of like in an oh shit moment.
Yeah,
I
you're
swear.
panicking to get information at this point.
Yes, I am. I'm panicking to get information. And then I called Jake, and Jake said, go to St. Mary's. And I'm like, okay. So I went to St. Mary's, and when we were en route to St. Mary's, Jeff called and said, yes, it was Spencer in the accident. But I don't think Jeff knew that I talked to Jake. So we were all en route. And then when Jeff called and he was crying, I knew that it was Spencer that was killed in the accident, and not the other driver. And
Yeah,
I couldn't even talk to Jeff. I basically just gave the phone and gave it to my husband and said, here, you
you deal with
take
this.
this.
Yeah.
You deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. I broke down. I mean, it's not an easy thing to, hear he was getting married in a very short time too. And, he had all your hopes and dreams and grandchildren coming. And I already begged them for a grandbaby.
No, not a mom. No, that never happens.
I wanted a little sweet little Spencer.
I can't imagine why. Like, I think that's the number one complaint of people as they're getting married and been married for longer than 12 hours. Everyone, grandmas, moms especially, start asking when's the grandbaby coming. Dads not so much. Dads are like, hey, settle down. Let's not be talking about kids right now. All right.
Well, this grandma wanted a grandbaby way before they got married.
That does not happen. Normally, it's mom going, "Hey, hold your horses. Let's get all this in order first. Let's make sure this is going to work." I don't think anybody who hasn't lost a child can really understand the pain that you went through then, or understand the pain that you're even feeling now. There's just no way anybody can. But I think we can empathize with the idea that, or the reality that, this is incredibly hard. And
it is very hard.
You went into really shock, understandably so. Tell us a little bit about, without going into all the other details. Tell us a little about where you were, Marcy, emotionally and psychologically
when I first heard, I
When you
felt like
first
my
heard,
life
and
was
then
over.
the following week.
Well, when I first heard that Spencer was killed, I just went into a tremendous shock. My husband took me to we drove to where Spencer and Megan lived. And I had to tell my sister that Spencer was killed. I told her on the way to the house. And I called my doctor and I did get on some medicine to help me, but I don't think that really helped me at all. Then when we got home that night, I couldn't sleep. I have to wear a CPAP machine. And when I started to go to sleep, I just woke up crying. I couldn't sleep. So I had to get out of bed because I was hyperventilating and I had to, I came out and slept on the couch actually, or in actually Larry's seat, his recliner to sit up a little bit. And Santa was right there helping me.
For those who don't know, Santa is her dog. So Luke's not actually Santa. She doesn't.
It's a dumb name. Actually, his
not,
name was Mary.
She's not hallucinating. She has a dog named Santa. So,
it was just really hard because, and then we had to go to the funeral home and talk about all the stuff that, and
that's going to be forever burned and etched into your mind. That's something
right.
that you're never going to get
away
from.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. And there's still some days that sometimes I just want to go lay on his grave and just melt into the earth and just be with him again. And I know that that's not possible. So I just miss him a lot.
You've told me in our conversations, texting back and forth, messaging and emails, Marcy knows this. I told her this as we were getting ready to do this. Like, I ask every single person that I invite on who's got a story to tell about injustice and corruption that's happening around them, send me details, give me a timeline. And I ask whether they're asking me to tell their story or if I'm asking them if I can tell their story. I ask for those details. There's only one other person who has come close to what Marcy has produced. And folks, the amount of detail, if you guys have ever watched a crime or a crime series or a detective series, I just picture Marcy with a virtual bulletin board pulling the strings, those red line strings all together, and not in a psychotic way where you walk in and it's all over the room. I'm seeing this very ordered and detailed because that's what she sent me. This stuff is just absolutely she hasn't missed anything, and she's still pulling together a lot of detail, and I think that's speaks not only just to your mother's heart, that heart that every woman who is tangible and real and actually motherly has, but it also speaks to who you are as a person. That, like, yes, Spencer's gone, but there's so much here in the story of Spencer after the fact that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And you started to run into that really within days. There's no other way I can't say hours because you were in shock and in dealing with family and you're in crisis, but within days of Spencer's death, things just weren't adding up. What was the first inclination that you had that something about the story of the accident wasn't real? And so folks are aware as we go forward, all of this is well researched. We're not making any statements of fact. We're not making any accusations. We're just saying, here's what research shows, and there are some questions that need to be answered. And I'll be damned if this just doesn't stink. It stinks. And so we'll name names of people we can name names of, and those who we cannot name, we will not. But that doesn't mean we still don't have questions. So, what was the first inclination that you had, Marcy, that there was something not right about how the story was being told? Because you found out right away that it started at the accident scene.
Well, actually, at the accident scene, I did find out when at Spencer's 6-month anniversary, but when we were sitting in conversation with the grievers or the family members of Spencer, especially on at Spencer's home, I was told about a message that was posted on Facebook by the defendant's mother, putting things on Facebook like she was happy that his phone was in his pocket.
And
And
I
that
think this is very that let's not just blow over that. That's within hours, days.
that
of
was actually
Spencer
on the
being
date. Yeah,
on the on the
I didn't find out about that until after. I mean, it was before Spencer was buried, actually.
right. So this is on the day that Spencer was killed. The mother of the driver, who was a juvenile at the time, the defendant, posted on Facebook, "I'm glad his phone was in his pocket." Now, my audience, and I know this, was a red flag for you when you found out about it, but my audience is hearing this right now going, why is that even important in this moment? Because I hear that and I'm going, somebody's building a story.
Correct.
For that to be the first freaking thing for you to post publicly about this accident, that it, like, about the other person, really, you're covering for your child. That's a cover.
I believe that's what it was intended to be, was a cover.
Building a narrative right out of the
Correct.
gate that this was not his fault.
Right. And then on the next day she posted that she was he was home resting and already bored.
Yeah. So
I mean, that just was like,
for
might as well just take a knife and stab it in my. Sorry.
No, I don't. But that's what I want people to hear. And so far, we haven't even gotten to elected and appointed public servants in this part yet. This is just cover up happening through family members.
Mm-hmm.
Mother covering for son. And then a heartless, he's resting in bed, bored. Even if your kid's innocent, do you have any empathy, lady, at all? Any that somebody might see this and that would get around? Because this is the world of social media today. People see things. So either you are completely disconnected and have no idea what you're doing, or you're already trying to build, like I said, that narrative of he didn't do anything, please have sympathy for him. To me, that's what it reeks of. And I know that's basically where you went. Because when you were telling me these things, when we were first chatting, I was like, that's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Believable, but unbelievable. So this hasn't even gotten to, and this, I'm not laughing because it's funny, but this is just, we're not talking about 1930s rural America. We're talking about modern America. There's no such thing as the small town people anymore. Everybody is urbanized in the sense that we all have access to social media, and we all have those social connections now that we wouldn't have had 80 years ago or 90 years ago. You quickly,
1997.
Yeah. You quickly found out, however, that the accident scene, the crime scene, there were problems at the crime scene as well. Mm-hmm. When did you start to hear the rumors about what was going on at the crime scene, and what were you hearing?
Well, I heard that one of the firefighters was sending out social medias about the accident, pictures of the accident. I heard that. Later
And
I
they knew
heard,
who was involved. Everybody on
yes,
scene already knew who was involved. This wasn't like
correct.
some out of state person that nobody recognized. This was everybody knew who was there and what had happened.
Except for me, I didn't find out for quite a while after Spencer was killed, but people knew, and I'm pretty sure that Jake knew Spencer was already dead before I talked to him.
So just so the audience knows, without you don't have to name his last name, but who is Jake? You mentioned him several times now.
Jake was kind of like Spencer's brother, older brother. Jake always put Spencer, under his wing. And actually, Jake's dad graduated with my ex-husband from Lake City.
Yeah. So Jake and Spencer had ostensibly been friends.
Correct, for a very long time.
And how is Jake, besides being tied to the story with his relationship with Spencer and ultimately with you and your ex and Spencer's stepdad, how else is Jake tied to the story? What's his role here other than, I want people to understand that Jake's close family friend, that's how he got this information.
Right. I think one of the persons that showed up on the scene was a friend of Jake's, and I think he's the one that contacted Jake and let Jake know, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Right. There again, as I said, that there's some speculation in this, but people need to understand that speculation isn't always conjecture, and it's not always wrong.
But social media did play a part. I'm sorry, did
yes. No, go ahead.
Interrupt you, but social media did play a part on how everything was perceived that day. Because I think when people come on an accident, I mean, I have pictures from the witnesses, and people are on their phones, texting people or doing whatever. And then I did hear later on that, well, even in the message from the defendant's mother, hey, thank you for reaching out. The people that were on the scene reached out to her right away.
But even though everybody, and this is what, thank you for bringing that up, even though everybody knew who both the people involved in the accident were, everyone's reaching out to ultimately the defendant's mother, and no one reached out to you.
Correct. And I forgot to tell you.
These are public servants that we're dealing with. We're talking about volunteer firefighters. We're talking about Wabasha County deputies, and the volunteer firefighters would have been from Lake City.
Correct. And then also, since it happened on a state highway, Minnesota State Patrol was the leader.
And it's a fatality. So even if it had happened on a city street, it was a Minnesota State Patrol would have been there with a fatality. Right. So no one took the time to reach out to family at all in this, other than the family of the defendant. Correct. You guys had to do all the investigation to find out what the hell was going on with Spencer and where he was, and
yep.
You had mentioned that every thread we pull here is going to open the door to 3 more hours. And as we discussed before, everybody knows this. All respect to my audience. You guys are loyal, but I know attention spans and timing. Everybody's busy these days. Marcy and I have already talked about this. We want to keep you engaged without going too far. So I'm being very careful which threads I'm plucking right now to pull out. And I promised Marcy I'd keep her on track, because she admitted she might be a little squirrel. She might be a little squirrel prone. Yeah. So I cannot uncork a bottle right now without having it just come all gushing out. So I'm going to be very careful. And I don't want anybody to see us being lighthearted and not taking this seriously. We have gotten to know each other pretty well through the all these discussions. She did make me promise to go easy on her, though, and I'm like, that's not. You mentioned witnesses, and we don't need to mention them by name. And
Mhm.
if you are the witnesses, if you are people who have witnessed this, and you do happen to watch this, and I have a funny feeling that I'm pretty sure you'll probably get the link to this.
Mhm.
So if you're watching this, please understand, you're not merely witnesses. When you witness a incident like this, that's this bad, that takes the life of a young man in the prime of his life, you are also victims, and you also deserve to be treated by the system with a leaning towards justice, because you are victim. You are a victim of a traumatic incident, and you have been, and I know this, you've been brushed under the rug as well. So if you ever would like to talk, if you would, even if it's anonymously, we can make that happen. I can protect your anonymity, and I would be humbled and honored at the same time to have you reach out to me. If you want to reach out to me through Marcy or personally, my email is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. We would gladly tell your account, your of what you witnessed that day, and what happened, because you deserve to be heard as well and treated with dignity, which has not happened so far. So there were witnesses in vehicles directly behind Spencer. They were following Spencer, not following
Correct.
him, but they were behind him as he was traveling home, going into Lake City, and they were heading in the same direction. And
Yeah, they
they
were going out of
witnessed,
Lake City. They were going south on 63.
yeah, not going into, going out. Excuse me.
Mhm.
So yeah, they were going out, and they witnessed the defendant's vehicle strike,
Yes.
cross the center line of the highway at a high rate of speed,
Mm-hmm.
and strike Spencer's vehicle in his lane. There's no question about that. There's absolutely
Correct.
no
There's no
denying that
question.
that's what happened. That Spencer did not cause this accident, and they witnessed that. Tell me a little bit about what they've had to say, or tell me about what they have had to say about that day, about what they saw, what they witnessed, and what their experience was that day from what they've communicated to you.
Well, first off, I want to say about both the witnesses, I was very heartbroken for them to see my son being killed in front of their eyes, because it's not something I can even fathom the idea and what they're going through, because I didn't see it. I just know that the three of us, and with my ex-husband, were bound to each other. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Absolutely.
both
That's your flesh and blood.
right. But the men that watched Spencer be
No.
killed, they've been treated very terribly by the county. They've tried to reach out and and they've just been like just casted aside. And that's how I feel like I've been treated by the county attorney's office and the victims witness coordinator, just tossed aside like I was a piece of shit.
And just so
sorry,
people
swear.
are,
I should
no,
swear.
we're past that. Just so people are aware, Minnesota has codified, literally codified statutorily, a victim's bill of rights.
Mm-hmm.
And having been on the receiving end of criminal actions directed at me, like literally an attempt to take my life, very few prosecutors' offices, county attorneys' offices. We don't have DAs in Minnesota. We prosecutions handled predominantly by county attorneys, unless it's minor city level stuff. Very rarely do they ever pay any attention to the victim's bill of rights, even though it's codified. To help people understand, in the case where I was assaulted, a plea deal was offered to the individual who assaulted me. No one told me about the plea deal. And according to the Minnesota law, victims and their families are entitled, not can be notified. They're entitled to know about any proposed plea deals, not with the power to veto the plea deal, but to at least know what the plea deal and the offer is in the plea deal before it's taken to court, to in front of a judge, to be accepted or not accepted. And that did not happen for me. And as we get further into the story, you're going to hear about how that played out for Marcy and her family as well, and what was and was not done. So these witnesses saw this take place, and then they were on scene, obviously, as all this was going on, and they had some thoughts.
They had lots of thoughts.
Right. So without telling everything that they had to say and share, give us kind of the periphery, the boundaries, in some detail of what they say they witnessed on scene after the accident took place and first responders started to come in.
Well, they said to me, I'm going to read this so I make sure I say it the correct way, that there was a guy from Lake City who approached us and said they knew the kid and knew his family, and they were good people. When I told the guy what I saw, he acted very funny, like he knew the kid was troubled. Not sure on this, but we believe that he has ties to some sort of public figure over in that area. Maybe his dad is a cop or a sheriff. Maybe.
That was one of the first things they told you about their experience.
Basically, that was on March 6th
of this year.
And
it was getting ready to go to trial.
This was
not trial, but not trial. It was there were criminal charges pending, and there could have been a trial, it could have been court, and all that.
This was on the arraignment day that they told me this. That one of them told me this, and I
want everybody to hear what she just said. This is March 6th of 2024. Spencer was killed on July 19th of 2023. This young man was not arraigned until March 6th of this year. This year. You have all heard my commentary on Trooper Shane Roper and how long he was allowed to go free without even being arraigned. You all know how I feel about that. Now, think about this. Almost, let's just say, 3/4 of a year. 3/4 of a year. 9 months, basically. This young man went free after crossing the center line and killing Spencer without any arraignment. Nothing hanging over his head. No behave yourself, slap on the wrist from the judge in the meantime. 9 months. 9 months this went on. And on the day of the arraignment, the witnesses said on that day they were approached by somebody from the city of Lake City who said, "We know the family. They're good people." Folks, if you're not starting to smell the stink of cover-up on this, I don't know what else to tell you. If that had been Spencer and he had crossed the center line and he had killed this other person, this young man, and survived, Spencer would not have been arraigned 9 months later. Spencer would have been arraigned the second he was released from the hospital. Is that speculation? Sure. Might be. But I have seen it plenty of times, and everybody else knows. All you have to do is you can go and read the Wabasha County Sheriff's Office. Oh, well, I can't because they blocked me. You can read their Facebook page. You read the Facebook page of every single police department and sheriff's office in the state of Minnesota. You read the Facebook page of every single police department and sheriff's office in your state. When they catch a criminal, when they respond to an accident, and it's clear that there's somebody criminally negligent involved in that accident, they will give you detail after detail after detail. until it comes to somebody with connections.
And then I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I'm forever horrified about what the press released about Spencer the day that he was killed, that he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. And that's not why Spencer died. He died because he was killed because the defendant crossed the center line and killed him. Spencer wouldn't have died if he would have made it to work. He wouldn't have died that day. He died because somebody else did something.
What it reeks of is victim blaming.
Correct.
It really does. It reeks of victim blaming. It's, well, Spencer would have been responsible and done the right thing and wore a seatbelt, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. And, and sadly, if Spencer had been wearing his seatbelt and this kid just crossed the center line and it was just a really bad accident, nobody probably would have thought to even think about any of this stuff. And I'm not like, God, I wish Spencer was here. I wish he was alive. And I know that that's more than a wish for you, but for the media to take the death of an individual and state, and the victim wasn't wearing a seatbelt. One, on the day that he died, this is released. Why is the investigating agency, whether it be the Wabasha County Sheriff's Office, the Lake City Fire Department, the Minnesota State Patrol, why are they releasing any of that information when they don't release information on anybody? Well, I shouldn't say anybody, but they'll not release information for any pending investigation, especially if it's one of their own they're trying to protect. But yet here's Spencer killed, and the first thing that the media reports about him is he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. They got that from somebody on the inside. They felt it necessary to put that information out. I think
that's on the media release.
Oh, sure, but why? What's the necessity of that in that moment? You've got a grieving family and grieving parents and a grieving fiance and grieving friends and other people in the community. And the first thing that you think you need to put in there is that the victim wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Who gives a shit? I'm surprised, at the risk of sounding like a complete jackass, I'm surprised they didn't write him a ticket post accident and go, oh, well, we're going to have to issue him a ticket. I don't know.
Right. I don't know if I told you this or not, but when I actually saw my ex-husband at the farm that Spencer was at, where he lived, he told me that the press was going to release Spencer's name at 9:00 at night. And this was probably about 8:00, 8:15. My mom and dad are in a assisted living facility and they watch the news. I had to call my sister and have her go and tell my parents because I wasn't in a place where I could be there in time to tell my parents. And yeah. I don't know. This is we're so close. Same with my mom. They spent a lot of time with Spencer. And to have my sister go and tell my parents, and it wasn't me. It should have been me that told my mom and dad, not my sister.
And thank God your sister was there. She could step into that role in such a short, such short notice. But where, like just where's the compassion? I mean, and that's and honestly, and let's be honest, the media in Southeast Minnesota is if they lack two things, it's compassion and intelligence. So, and that right there shows how much they lack both of those. We just get to the point where we don't expect much from the media anymore, right? So you aren't able to get really any details at all about the accident in the days following Spencer's death and even the funeral. Like you immediately started running into roadblocks.
Mm-hmm. I did. I was told by the office that the crash reconstruction report won't be available for 6 months, sometimes 9 months later. I mean, the crash, and he was very. I mean, you could see the gouge marks in the road. That the crash didn't happen in the northbound lane; it happened in both southbound lanes. So it was the other driver's fault. And I just think that
you said something. You said something really telling there. The gouge marks. That just gives you. I mean, when you could see gouge marks in the pavement from where the accident took place. I mean, that tells you just how bad it was.
Yeah.
When did you start asking first started asking your questions? You're in shock. You're planning a funeral for, like, no parent should ever have to bury their child. Let's just get that out of the gate. When did you really start to ask questions about what actually happened? I know it wasn't very long after the accident took place.
Well, I guess when my ex started talking about the case, the accident, it's like, yeah, I kind of understood where he was coming from, but I was a believer in the law and just wanted to see, what happened and wanted to know what was going on. But I think the first questions that I started having was when Spencer's 6-month death anniversary, when the witnesses really got a hold of me and started talking about it and telling me how they felt about what was going on. But even before that, there is a cross that was installed I put out a Facebook message, asking, I wanted to put something up for Spencer. And this wonderful, I used to take care of her daughter. She, took the bull by the horns and had the cross put up. And in talking with that family, we found out a little bit information about the family and how important they were at that point. And then, and then it started after when, getting told about some of the things that was happening, then I started like, this doesn't make sense. And then in the meeting that we did have with Mr. Stinson, told that he grew up.
Oh, no, not Mr. What's his first name?
Matt Stinson, Matthew Stinson.
Matt Stinson. And he is the county attorney for Wabasha County, which is where Lake City is. And therefore he's responsible for prosecuting the criminal behavior. And he does have, and we're coming up on an hour. So, and then we talked for quite a bit before this anyway, just because I wanted to get you used to talking, on camera about it. I know that you're used to talking about it, but it's different when you're going to be recorded for posterity. We're gonna have you on again if that's okay.
Yes,
and I already told the audience that I was going to ask you anyway. So, we're going to have you on again, and we're going to start to really pull threads, because we're not going to have to do as much of the background. We're not going to really have to do any background at all. Matthew Stinson isn't just some out-of-towner who just showed up in Wabasha County and started practicing law and ran for county attorney. Matthew Stinson has roots in Wabasha County that go back at least his entire lifetime, if not further back. But his roots are connected directly to, and this is not speculation or conjecture, this is demonstrably true, Matthew Stinson has roots tied directly to the family of the accused of the suspect in this situation, tied directly to the family, and the family is well known in the community, very well known in the community, business leaders in the community, political leaders in the community, um, organizational leaders in the community. They're tied to everything that happens in Lake City and Wabasha County. And you ran into that almost immediately
Mm-hmm.
upon starting to ask questions. You started to find all of these things out. And I know your initial reaction was, how can justice be done? Is that right?
Right. How can justice be done for Spencer when there's such a connection to the family? And how could he prosecute the defendant without bias? Because he didn't give two shits about Spencer being killed. He just cared about the defendant. And I knew that by the, the not victims' rights, the lies that I was told by the victims coordinator, the lies I was told by Stinson was going through the defendant's mind before he swerved over the center line. The fact is, he swerved over the center line and killed Spencer. Even if it wasn't Spencer, it was another person. Justice should be served.
This has been a huge fight for you, just mentally and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Relationally, it's been a huge fight for you.
Yes.
It got really bad leading up to, or right after the arraignment process. It got really bad because you really began to fight against the system in a way that you never thought. And you said you were all law and order before.
Yeah.
Trust the system. And, I and some of my other friends have kind of coined a phrase. It's a blanket statement, but it kind of covers the entire criminal justice system, which is back the blue until it happens to you.
Yep.
It's been eye-opening for you, but we do have a little bit of breaking news in that as we get ready to wrap up this first episode with you on, we'll have you on for another Monday Night Musings very, very soon. You got a message from somebody.
Got two messages.
You got two messages very recently, very, very recently, from people who are in positions to make decisions in Wabasha County, who control the purse strings of the county attorney's office and control the salary of the county attorney. Even though they can't necessarily remove the county attorney, they can bring pressure on the county attorney. And so you've received messages
I received a message. Right. I received a message from one of the county commissioners asking to come and speak on voter day.
National travesty.
The former county attorney that served Wabasha County and told me to do the same thing. So I didn't reach out to these people. These people reached out to me. So
these are, yes, there again, this is a sitting county commissioner and a former county attorney reaching out to you saying your story needs to get told. That should tell us something, folks. And the next time that Marcy's on, we're really going to start to pull up the threads, unravel this sweater of connections, and begin to show people why this stank from the very beginning. It's tragic that Spencer was killed, but even more tragic how they handled it, how they went about it, and what they did. How are you doing? I know you have ways of coping. You hang out with Santa, which they might need medication for that. But how are you and your husband doing? And are you healing?
kind of put on a brave face and go through my day. And I don't know if I'm healing or not. It's just one day at a time. I'm trying to be strong for Spencer. I'm trying to be strong for others. And when this is all said and done, I don't know what will happen.
Oh, I think you're more than strong. I think you're doing a phenomenal job of being strong. I don't think anybody who's watched this tonight is going to have any questions about your strength. You brought something special to the show tonight. You want to show everybody?
Oh, my shirt?
Yeah.
What? Oh, yeah, this is something. This is Spencer's shirt from Meadow Valley. I wanted him to be with me today when I did this, and I'll wear this again, probably again, but I do have another one that I could wear, so I'll have to find that.
So you're gonna have to come up with all sorts of stuff. I'm gonna turn this into 3-4 episodes. You're gonna have a different shirt for everyone. No.
I don't have very many.
I know that story too.
And maybe Santa will be on the show next time.
We love it. I've had multiple people bring their dogs and cats on. Not so much.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised the other two. I do have 2 cats, Jazzy and Sven, and I don't know where they're at. I'm surprised they're not over here hounding me.
Or catting you. Can cats hound you?
Yeah.
Well, so.
That's funny. Yeah, catting me.
If anybody's watching this that's going through this kind of stuff and they're having questions and it's overwhelming, would you encourage them, no matter how overwhelming it feels, to keep digging?
Keep digging until you find the answers. People, as a mom, you deserve a mom talking to a mom or a grandma or whatever. You guys need answers. Seek the answers. Go with your gut feeling. It took
fight.
I'm not really a fighter. I'm more of like, I'm doing this for Spencer, and I'm, fighting for everybody right now, because I think people really need to have the answers.
Agreed.
It's hard, and there are more people in Wabasha County that are trying to seek justice for themselves, and Mr. Stinson's just not a great guy.
Yeah, I've developed a very poor opinion of him already, so I'm not gonna lie. Everything that you showed me so far, I've got no reason to think he's an upstanding individual, which I think is what happens a lot of times with county attorneys and whatnot. Everybody goes, "Oh, they're a county attorney. They must be really no. They could be dirty pieces of filth too."
But the one thing that really stands out to me the most is my victim rights. I've been lied to. And I think I would have got, if I wasn't lied to, if my victim rights, I didn't even know victim rights even existed. I think that's the big piece that I want people to understand is if you are a victim of a crime, you have victim rights. Seek those victim rights out. Tell on the county attorneys or the victims coordinators that aren't doing their jobs, because they're supposed to be there to support you.
Absolutely.
And if I had that support, things would be different. I probably would have never questioned what was going on with the county attorney's office if that support was given to me, but it wasn't. And I've been told by a lawyer that I did hire to, that's another part of the story. Sorry, I pulled that string, but
just put it right back in. Just put it right back in, Marcy. Put the string.
Okay. That people don't get treated like that. Victims are not supposed to be treated like crap.
Right.
They're
not supposed to be.
But I was treated like I was a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
And then they treaded over my son, and that's the problem that I have.
And we will address that next time that you're on, very soon. I can't thank you enough for, responding to me the first time I ever reached out to you. And not going, okay, who's this? Well, you probably did say, who is this crackpot?
I did not say that. I promise I did not say that.
But I really appreciate you staying in touch with me and humbling me with the opportunity to be able to tell your story. And I know the audience, my audience is going to especially take note of this. I just know how they operate and how they work. I know how big their hearts are. So I'm going to
Okay.
let you go ahead.
People to stand up to people that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing in the justice system.
Stand up to them.
Stand up to
That's
them.
what my audience does. That's you have come to the right place.
And I want people that are watching too, and others that see this, is stand up to them. Fight
Yes.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Fight for the person who was killed or whoever it was. If you are a victim of a rape or child abuse, fight for yourself.
That's right. Because she's going to tell you about her fight next time this is just as irritated and as upset and intrigued as you might be. You are going to be like, when you start to hear all the stuff that was said to her or not told to her, or how she was treated, how she was handled, how the witnesses were treated, how they were handled. And once again, if you're one of the witnesses and you would like to tell your side, we can protect your anonymity. We can make that happen. So, and if you don't want to, if you're not interested in protecting your anonymity, we can do that as well. So you can reach out to me. Marcy knows how to get a hold of me, or you can send me an email. So Marcy, thank you very much for your time tonight, and we will set up the next show very soon.
Okay.
I'm going to
Thank
put
you very much.
I'm going to. Oh, you don't have to thank me. I'm going to put you in the green room. I'm going to put you in the green room, and then I'll be with you in just a minute.
Okay. Thank you.
That's why I do what I do, folks. It's a never-ending battle. It's a never ending battle. The stuff keeps happening and keeps going on, and it's going to keep going on, and it's going to keep happening until more people like Marcy and others stand up and say enough is enough. We're not putting up with this garbage anymore. So please tune in, and I will let you guys know when Marcy's coming on again. I think it might even be next week. We'll just see how this week plays out. Got a busy week for you guys. We've got Marcy tonight, and then Tuesday night I've got TJ and Rebecca from the Libertarian Party of Minnesota to talk about their run for office, with the election being next week. And then on Wednesday I've got the Libertarian Muslim from Wisconsin coming on, and on Thursday night, hopefully this time with Spike, has just had a heck of a go for the last few months. Spike Cohen from You Are the Power is coming on Thursday night. And then on Friday, should be another one of my Use of Force reviews with Joe Lanu and crew. We stream on his channel and on mine. So, my friends, until next time, like my friend Monica's sign that she made for me with my tagline, fight for your liberty, it is yours. Fight for your freedom, it belongs to you. Sic Semper Tyrannis.
We are going for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at